Hi guys, listen, great to see you all. Thanks for checking out this video. I am lucky and honored enough to today to be here with one of my absolute personal heroes in the health industry. We don't call it the alternative health industry here, as like Dr. Glidden says, it's not alternative for the guys it's helping out there. So one of the things that I so wanted to do is give people an opportunity to get to know Dr. Glidden better. For people that don't know him over here, he's such a hero, makes things that are very complicated to understand in the health industry much more simple for the layman to understand. I think that's what he does so well. I've been lucky enough to hear him lecture, standing room only, to meet the guy a few years back in Dallas. Great honor. So yeah, we're going to make a series of videos together. I'm getting to know the great man himself, a little bit about his affinity to Dr. Wallet, the Youngevity products, some protocols for better health and all that good stuff. But in the first video today, it's just going to be about us getting to know Dr. Glidden. So listen, without further ado, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and a bit about your background and how you got to be where you are?
Thanks, Jonathan. I owe it all to my open-minded parents. I was fortunate. I grew up in a big family, a big Irish family, youngest of six. My dad was a lawyer. My mother was a school teacher and then a housewife. And, this was back in the 50s. I was born in 1958 and grew up in the 60s and the 70s, really. Graduated high school in 76. And I was lucky enough back in those days, which was rare, to have parents who were kind of laissez-faire, right? They're kind of the motto. My father's motto was do what makes yourself happy as long as you don't hurt yourself. So back in those days, I mean, even today, but really a lot more then, naturopathic medicine, I mean, nobody could pronounce it, let alone know what it was. And in the US, it was the redheaded stepchild that nobody wanted to have anything to do with and that it was whispered about in hushed corners, right? So I was fortunate that when I told my parents that I wanted to go to naturopathic medical school, instead of looking at me cross-eyed and saying, get a real job, they were 100% behind it. And
Wow.
so I was blessed in that regard. And so it's, when I look back at my life, it's interesting because for whatever reason, ever since day one, I've been leaning towards the holistic end of things in life. And I don't know why. I'm a spiritualist and I'm a believer in reincarnation and karma and samskaras and things like that. But so I think that my predilection for the holistic method has been baked into my cake, and I've always been leaning in that direction. So I'm in uh, college. I went to a really good college after high school, and I lasted a year and a half because I was a religion major and I was wasting my father's money. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it was an expensive school. So I dropped out and I traveled around the country for 5, 6 years. I did odd jobs. I worked on a fishing boat. I had a painting company. I did a lot of different things all over the United States. And one day I woke up and I thought to myself, look, you know, I, I really don't want to be doing physical labor for the rest of my life. And I think there's something better for me to do. I think there's a different path for me because it just didn't feel right. When you're not on your path, it doesn't feel right. So I had been helped a lot in my younger days by a chiropractor. And so I thought to myself, you know what? I really like this holistic medicine stuff. It seems kind of natural to me. So I'm going to go to school and learn how to become a chiropractor. So I went to pre med, enrolled at pre med at 25 years of age, right? I'm surrounded by people who are 17 and 18 years old, right? I had to start all over again because as a religion major, none of the credits transferred through. So I went to a big university, the University of Massachusetts, and was in the pre med program for 4 years. And at the very beginning of my fourth year, I got really, really sick. I got really sick. I had gastrointestinal pains, I had fever, I had chills, I was languishing, I was losing weight, and I wasn't getting any better. And keep in mind, the the school that I went to is in a part of the country where there's medical teaching facilities, universities, schools, clinics everywhere. Throw a stick, you hit a medical teaching facility. So I was surrounded by conventional medical doctors, and none of whom could help me. And I was very disappointed and very disillusioned in what they could do, and the chiropractors couldn't help me either.
Mm.
As fate would have it, and this was 1987, there were two licensed naturopathic doctors in Massachusetts. I was in school at Massachusetts. Two of them in the entire state in 1987. One of them lived in the same town that I lived in.
Wow. It was
So
fate.
I went to see him because I didn't even know what naturopathic medicine was. I didn't know what that was. But, I was open-minded enough to say, well, no, nobody else is helping me, and so I'm give the guy a try. And I'll never forget it. I was literally carried into the guy's office by two friends of mine. I had an arm over each of their shoulders. That's how wiped out I was. And his office was up a big flight of stairs. I'll never forget walking up those stairs. I'll never forget it. No elevator. I go into the guy's office, and honest to God, it was like going back into the 1800s. He was like an old-fashioned country doctor. Whatever you imagine when you imagine that, that's what he was like. He had a really great bedside manner. Put me on an exam table, drew some blood, poked around, asked me some questions, and gave me a homeopathic medicine. I had no idea what homeopathy was. Had no idea. And put it in my mouth, and he looked at his watch and went to see another patient, came back in 10 minutes. Nothing had changed. So he scratched his chin. I can remember it like it happened yesterday. This is embedded in my memory banks, right? He went to the shelf, took a homeopathic book off of the shelf that was about, 12 inches thick, and he started paging through it. And he asked me a bunch of other questions. And then he went to his pharmacy. He got me another little homeopathic medicine. And he put 2 pellets of that homeopathic medicine in my mouth. And honest to God, as soon as that stuff hit my system, my body started trembling, like visibly trembling, like I had Parkinson's disease. I started shaking. And I felt this upsurge of energy from my gut, and I had to throw up. Now, luckily, there was a bathroom, right there, right off of his office. So I ran into the bathroom, purged this bilious, nasty sludge, the stuff that I threw up. It was bad. And as soon as it came out of my body, I had the distinct impression that there was a Venetian blind that was unrolled from my toes all the way to my head, and I was cured. And
Wow.
in addition to the physical stuff that happened, right? But all the pain went away, the fever went away, the muscle aches, the cramping disappeared like somebody flipped a switch. But more importantly, I felt like, I can't explain it. When you turn the station on the TV, it's a completely different thing, right? It's a different channel, different stuff. It was like that. There had been like an energetic shift in my body from that one dose of the homeopathic medicine. One dose, which cost, by the way, $5, right? I went home. I walked out of his office on my own, went home, and I slept for, I don't know, a long time. 20 hours, something like that. And I woke up the next day, born again into holistic medicine, specifically naturopathic medicine. Keep in mind, I had no idea what it was. I didn't know what homeopathy was. And it wasn't a placebo effect, because if it had been a placebo effect, it would have been the first medicine that he gave me, not the second, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was in January. So February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. 8 months later, I was a freshman at naturopathic medical school because of that experience that I had. And I have to tell you, ever since then, but especially when I was in school, because, it's a different environment when you're in academics, right? It's different. I had the distinct impression, which is a great feeling, that I was in exactly the right place doing exactly the right thing at exactly the right time. And
Right.
it was
Good feeling.
fantastic. And that stayed with me ever since. And that's why I'm such a strong advocate for naturopathic medicine. Because not only have I seen what it's done to me, but the things that I've seen this medicine do with thousands of patients, not just my own, but all my colleagues. We're a small group, like a band of brothers and sisters, right? A small group of individuals, and the things that I've seen happen in the naturopathic medicine practice, most people wouldn't believe. And it's that inspiration that keeps me excited about this and moving forward every day. And I love opportunities like this, and I appreciate it very much, where I can kind of get up on the soapbox and tell people not only my story but introduce them to the undiscovered country of science-based, clinically verified naturopathic medicine, because most people, honest to God, have no idea what they're missing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important to get that message out there that you get out. I mean, another thing, people haven't seen the lecture you did, Who Made MDs King? I mean, wow, wow. I mean, if you want a good sniff, a good whiff of, the medical system at large, check that out. Who Made MDs King? I mean, that's got to be one of the most powerful lectures, I think, and truthful lectures I've ever seen in my life. Quite fantastic. And it's great, yeah. And I think, for guys like you to get up and do, because the trouble is, there's such a slew of misinformation out there, isn't there? In this industry especially. And I think that's what makes it hard, isn't it, for people to kind of really hang their hat on something that they can believe in, that works, because they go down to their local, health food store or whatever it is, and they get a few bits and bobs and they try to throw it together the best way they can and get a bit of vitamin C or whatever it is they've been told. And they don't get a great deal of result with it, and then they believe, well, it didn't work for me. So it's great to have someone like yourself that can actually put that to rights.
Yeah, that's where the rubber hits the road, is clinical experience. And that's the strength of my profession. That's what we do. I mean, in the United States, it's different. Naturopathic medicine in the US is different than naturopathic medicine in the UK, because in the United States, it's 4 years, 5,000 hours, a full blown doctoral degree education from medical schools that are accredited by the United States Department of Education. And it's primary care practice once you graduate and get a license. It's primary care. I mean, we can work in hospitals and prescribe drugs and have insurance privileges in 23 states, I think, in the United States. So, where the rubber hits the road here, which is important, is what works clinically. Because, if you're a drug company, you're going to cook the books with the research. If you're a nutritional supplement provider, most of them are going to cook the books with the research. And you're not really going to know what's going on unless you've had somebody actually try it out in clinical settings. And that's what we do. That's what my profession does. And that's our strength. And that's what
And
every.
that's what, sorry to cut in there, but that's what gives you that kind of behind the scenes look at an awful lot of different, supplement formulas out there. This isn't just something, you kind of wildly stumbled across, is it? I mean, as I've heard you talk about before, you've been through the lot, and you've got a process you go through to make sure that you get, what do you do to find out, to make sure that, hey, this stuff is legit?
It's a big process, and if people had any idea of the amount of wiggle room that exists in the manufacture of a nutritional supplement, I mean, they'd be horrified. There are some regulations which are good, but I have access to nutritional supplement companies as a naturopathic doctor that you can't get as a layperson. That they only sell these products to licensed physicians,
Mm.
and that's what I've been doing for 32 years. So I have tried a lot of different things over 32 years, as have my colleagues, and we know what works.
Right.
And this is a really big distinction. And also, it's not just the product, but specifically it's the strategy, right? And how much of it are you going to take? So, for instance, if there's a fire in your backyard, you want to, oh, you're smart enough to know I can put that out with water. Well, you're not going to use a squirt gun. It's not enough water. It's
Right.
water. It's not enough water. You need to turn a hose on it. So it's the same in medical nutrition. When we're in botanical medicine, herbs, when we're using these modalities, you have to use the right stuff in the right amounts. And
Mm.
often, the beauty to this approach is that we use a number of different things that have synergistic effects. And this is called holistic medical nutrition, which is better than fractionated medical nutrition, which I think is probably a good subject for our next video.
Absolutely. Well, listen, what a great introduction for all you guys out there in the UK and Europe that don't know Dr. Glidden. A great introduction there. If you're interested in getting some of the products that we're going to start to talk about from Youngevity, the bottom of the screen, you can see the links where you can buy directly here in the UK or in Europe, where the product's dispatched from, within the UK and within European countries, which makes it nice and straightforward and simple. Listen, I hope you got a lot out of this, and we will see you on the next video.